Rainbow Six.
Death.
So dudes, I'm G and I yap about Rainbow Six. I'm not really sure why. I mean, I don't think anybody plays the game anymore, or at least that's the impression that I get. The game is just totally chalked on PC right now. It's just really not much of a point in playing ranked. But this is a Siege channel, so if I want to make money on it, I gotta talk about Siege somehow. But if you find me at your local Starbucks, that's why. So if you want to join me while I try to revive this dead-ass channel, be my guest. It's either go big or go home. Buckle in. Alright, here's the skinny. So if you're still playing the game regularly, God bless you if you're able to, you probably have heard a ton of drama about Ranked 2.0. Ranked 2.0 has been the subject of drama in this community ever since it dropped, I guess about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. Ubisoft is very aware that people don't like it. I know that for a fact because I got to hear it from their own mouths. And I got to hear them propose a solution that may shock some of you. A completely new matchmaking system that's separate from all of these systems that we have on the board right now. A while ago, I got to have a conversation with some Ubisoft people, including the creative director and the guy who runs the live service component. That's the matchmaking, what puts people in games, what they're playing, all that, right? Like, he's one of the guys who calls the shots on what gets put in standard, what gets put in quick match, etc., etc. Now, I know this is going to irritate some people, but I did not go into that conversation and then yell and scream at them at the top of my lungs. Unfortunately, I am an embedded agent within the Canadian government, hired to spread Ubisoft propaganda. So yeah, everything in this video is a lie, but if you're still okay with that, then, you know, let's talk about Rank 3.0. So Ubisoft did not talk to me about Rank 3.0, but they did talk to me about the Siege Cup. The Siege Cup is a tournament system that they are floating around within the company that's going to add a little bit more of a sophisticated long form, sort of involved, a little bit more competitive approach to matchmaking in Rainbow Six Siege, something that's a little bit more intense and tailored and specific to competitive player interest than the current fare that we have. So if you're familiar with the Premier system in Valorant, this would be kind of like that. This system, the Siege Cup, would use a tier system that would rank skill levels for individual stacks. So 5-man stacks could be sorted by tier D, tier C, tier B, tier A, etc. Now, Siege Cup would still use your hidden MMR. Again, kind of like Valorant, where they have the hidden MMR versus the visual rank that's more of like a psychological sort of, you know, little shiny, right, that they hang in front of you to give you something to work towards, something for you to play towards. Now, the creative director for Ubisoft, Rainbow Six, told me, we're not the first game to use a tournament system, but there is a reason the tournaments are done during a very specific period of time. When you do match 5 stacks with 5 stacks, that is tough matchmaking, partnered with a tournament organizing third party. So that's how the brackets will play out. This is how we can slot things. They're going to be working with a number of different people. And whenever this takes place within the building, it's all hands on deck. They take it seriously. It's a lot of work to implement a system like this. If it's not fun, why bother? That's basically what Alex told me. Now, the reason that we even brought this up in the first place, we weren't even going in talking about the so-called Siege Cup. The only reason I'm talking about the Siege Cup is because that conversation kind of came up naturally. The whole point of the conversation was to have a serious sit down about Ranked 2.0 because a lot of people are not happy about it. And what Ubisoft told me is that the data and what people are saying often are not the same things. They have considered abandoning a lot of these social media outreach sort of instances because what they get in terms of vocal feedback, written feedback, does not reflect how people are interfacing with the product. A common misconception that I hear all the time is that anybody can hit champ. The Ubisoft guys told me very point blank that percentage of people who actually get into the bell curve, champion is 0.8% of the bell curve. So the distribution, regardless of whether that includes a ton of people who have just played like, 5 million games, right? That's the argument. People say it's just a battle pass. You can play 5 million games and hit champ, or whether or not that's a bunch of cheaters, you still have to work hard to hit champ. Do you have to work as hard to hit champ? I don't know. I'm not an authority on that because, and what a lot of people don't know is that the basic framework for the true skill system that they've applied to the game hasn't really changed that much. One of the matchmaking directors at Ubisoft told me they never actually changed the matchmaking. The matchmaking is still the same from Ranked 1.0 to Ranked 2.0. They've made some tweaks, but it's essentially the same system. What we were looking at here was social engineering. We were looking at ways to get people more incentives to continue playing. And in Ranked 1.0, there were problems as well that nobody talks about because Everybody has nostalgia glasses in this community. Ranked 1.0, according to the creative director, was not a season's journey for a lot of people based on the metrics that they had. People would jump in, they'd do their placements, and then they would leave. For content creators like me, that's obviously not the case. For grinders, that's not the case. But for people who wanted to get good at the game, the creative director noted that there seemed to be a disconnect. Climbing out of bronze was hard when your teammates were in bronze. Now, this is all stuff that I hear a lot of people in various gaming communities say. All of this is a cope, right? This is not real. This is blaming things on your circumstances rather than your play in terms of where you are in your rank system. The creative director's response to that sort of characterization, more or less, was that in terms of the bell curve, the bottom half has a more rewarding experience in this system, in Ranked 2.0, than Ranked 1.0. Now, a lot of super sweats are going to hear that and go, see, that's exactly what we're talking about. They're making the game for casuals. Well, unfortunately, we do live in a society, and market dynamics do exist. So we can't just cut off 50% of the player base, because the game is already having a ton of issues in terms of keeping players playing, and I think that alienating community members is going to be a problem. I've always said this, ever since this new team got brought on in year 8, I said that Rainbow Six needs to make a game for people that like Rainbow Six, not people who don't like Rainbow Six. The same thing with Operation New Blood. If Operation New Blood comes out with an anti-cheat, right? Actual health, infrastructure stuff, instead of just, hey, there's no content, don't worry about it. The reception would have been completely different. And I think that a lot of people are just more irritated about the general health of the game and the infrastructure that we have than, particular problems. People will find opportunities to get upset about particular problems, but I think Siege has more holistic, macro-level problems than micro-level problems. And unfortunately, Rank 2.0 is one of these things. I think anybody who, stopped playing the game for Rank 2.0 is not in the majority. The vast majority of people who are yapping about Rank 2.0 and how it, quote-unquote, destroyed the game, they left the game for other reasons, not particularly related to Rank 2.0. They left the game because, the balance wasn't what they liked. They didn't like the cheater situation. They didn't like the content, right? Those are the reasons that they left. I can't really think of a reason for leaving the game in terms of the actual matchmaking itself, because when I can play the game without having to deal with cheaters, it's a ton of fun. I like this game when I don't have to play against cheaters. If I had a choice between a working anti-cheat and reverting back to Ranked 1.0, I would take the anti-cheat, because there's no point in addressing the content or the matchmaking until the cheater thing is figured out. And I think a lot of people have a blind spot to this, particular crux of the issue right now, because we're still fixated on, what's immediately in front of us. How is my experience being impacted? And at the end of the day, if you can't have authentic games in a competitive game, what is the freaking point? So there's also an implication that Ranked 2.0 cannot evolve, which is also silly. This is a live game. This is something else that Ubisoft told me. They are more than happy to take feedback and try to work something out. Try to evolve the system. Work off of what people say. But if the only kind of feedback they get is, this sucks, that's not helpful. That's not a solution to the problem. And this is something that happens in QA all over the world, in all tons of businesses. This is not Boeing, right, making a crappy plane that explodes. This is a video game for entertainment. And the stakes of the problem, right, compared to problem A to problem B are not the same thing. The actual, quality of your games in the game, that's been affected to an extent, to varying degrees, that I think some people find distasteful. I'm not exactly sure why. Half the time I have a very difficult time finding the difference between the games that I'm playing now in Rank 2.0 versus the games that I'm playing in Ranked 1.0. Because if you actually sit down and you understand the system, you would understand that the actual, impact of the experience from Ranked 1.0 to Ranked 2.0 is very limited. What people don't like is this sense of accomplishment that they don't have now versus they feel like they did back then. So no matter what I do, no matter what I did with this kind of video and the questions that I got to talk to Ubisoft about, which was lengthy, if I don't make a video that just goes, Ubisoft bad, Rank 2.0 bad, nobody's going to listen to me, right? They're not going to listen to the substance of my argument. they're just going to say anybody can hit champ, which is not true, and just, and continue being wrong, and then get upvoted. I refuse to give in to gamer updoot culture. I will hold the line. I will fight the updoot. When the game is in a crappy state, I'm going to say it's in a crappy state. I'm not going to catastrophize, and get dramatic about it. I think that New Blood is a bad season. Do I think it's killing the game? No. I think the game's going to be fine, but right now it's going to go through a really rough patch, and a lot of people are going to feel like it's the end of the world. Rank 2.0 included. From the mouth of Ubisoft, they said Rank 2.0 is set up the way it is, in part as a motivation system for the average person, not necessarily for the tail end of the skill end distribution. So this common complaint that we hear all the time about how the game is only made for Pro League, it's only made for Pro League, it's only made for streamers, esports slop. Honestly, to tell you the truth, I think a lot of people are completely fine with Rank 2.0. I think that the vocal minority does not speak for the silent majority. And this is starting to happen much more frequently on the internet for a wide variety of topics, gaming especially. What I will also say is that the Ubisoft devs I talked to said it's clear that there needs to be more conversations regarding Ranked 2.0 or the Siege Cup or whatever, to the extent of which they will conduct conversations with the community. I'm not sure, because they also said that sometimes these conversations don't really give us good feedback. And hashtag relatable. I've been covering the game for 10 years. I do not know what people think of the game. I honestly could not tell you, do people hate the game? Do people like the game? I have no idea. Anytime I've tried to make content on this channel that's not Siege related, it takes a massive, massive hit to my bottom line. So which one is it? Clearly there is a demand for it. Like everything else with Siege, I think the answer is more complicated than people like to say it is, for likes on Twitter. I think that there can be problems with the game, serious problems, really bad problems that are affecting the game negatively to the point where I'm, significantly irritated enough to make a point of it in most of my videos. I think Siege has a lot of problems, but I don't think it's the end of the world. Two things can be right at the same time, and I'm not going to criticize it unless I care about it. The people who are going to complain about whatever rank system that they do, right? They do rank 3.0 and they'll say it's not the same thing. Those people will never, ever, ever be satisfied. I don't think those people are angry about rank 2.0. They're angry about the balance of the game, the lack of content, a number of different things. Matchmaking is not the end-all, be-all. If people like the game, they'd be putting up with it and playing through rank 2.0 regardless, because there are a ton of people right now that are playing through rank 2.0 regardless. Quick Match 2.0, a little bit different. I'm not really sure what the heck's going on there, but I don't play Quick Match, so my ability to have a conversation about that is relatively limited. But yeah, point being, long story short, Ubisoft is not dialing back Rank 2.0. It's here to stay. However they decide to implement it moving forward, that can be anything, right? That's totally up in the air. But from what I can tell, the vast majority of people seem to be okay with it, at least in terms of the metrics that they are looking at. Now, if you don't believe that, if you think they are lying to me, I can't really do anything about that. But what you can do is leave an angry comment, downvote the video, and get mad at me for doing PR for Ubisoft, I guess. I don't know how else to approach the topic. I've never really understood what the heck the problem with Rank 2.0 was. I like that I was able to play with my friends. I just want to play the game without cheaters. Nothing really matters to me until the cheater thing is figured out, and Ranked 2.0 drama is just kind of in the background for me. But there was demand for this video, and the conversation, albeit limited, did have some interesting pieces of information, especially about the Siege Cup. Whether or not people still want to play the Siege Cup, by the time they roll it out, we'll see. I hope that there's still a Rainbow Six to play by that point, especially by the point that they're going to get to 100 operators, which they still seem to be dedicated to. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'll be back tomorrow with another Yap Sesh about Rainbow Six. Let me know if you thought this conversation was interesting. What was the most interesting part of it to you? And what would you like Ubisoft to do to the rank system as it stands right now? Let me know in the comments down below. And be sure to give the video a downvote if you didn't like it. And thanks for watching. Deuces.